In this second of two introductory videos on preparing a campaign, Mark Bradford talks to us about some critical considerations for building a crew, selecting a pro to help develop your amateur team, crew safety, watchkeeping, and minimising weight on board. So let's get started.
My favourite one with crew selection is if you bought a set of golf clubs, $2,000, $2,500. I don't play golf, but you would get a coach. The first thing you would do is get a coach. So why is it a taboo subject that in the sport of sailing that you buy these really expensive assets and the first person you don't get is a professional to help you sort it out? Yeah, so team selection's the same everywhere, business and in sport. It's always select for attitude. We've got the luxury of running a professional sporting team. Well, I run a professional sporting team. So I can pick the best bowmen, the best pitmen, the best trimmers, and then I can put them together like a cricket team. You wouldn't get the wicket keeper to do the bowling. But so, although Rod Marsh was pretty good at times, in the sport of sailing, you know, and if it depends what level you're trying to achieve it at, but you can build the team, but you do have to have people with the right attitude. And then if you get some good coaching help in their specific roles, you can bring them up to speed pretty quickly. One of the benefits in a Pro-Am team is if you bring in the right pros in the beginning, and look, that's a whole different environment to weed your way through and find the right people. Again, you've got to select for attitude. They'll train the amateur guys and they'll help the amateur guys to get better. And similarly, the amateur guys will respond to better pros. And so then the level gets lifted, right? So then you might say, hey, well, this is just a club race. And then you'll find your friends and your family are now sailing at a pretty high level. But the key to it is time. It's just one of these sports, it does take a long time. It's a very technical sport. And having people in positions with the right coaching, you can get there. Achieving what you want to achieve in sport, everyone says, I want to win. That's a pretty throwaway line. We've all said it. I think I just said it in a press conference before. But to win, you have to build the foundation. You have to build the team. You have to work on your combinations. You have to put time aside. And in our sport, for sea safety, you have to put time aside for all your protocols on board to do with your watch systems, the general standard that you expect the inside of the boat to be kept after every sail come down has to be packed. And you have to create this sort of, it's like a Navy-like regime. Well, it has to be that way. It has to be very disciplined because ultimately, in a lot of the sport, it's an endurance sport and you're trying to do it for 2 or 3 days. So preparation is how you achieve the I want to win goal. It's not, you can't just win by saying you want to win. There's a team from the UK, the Sunrise, JPK 1180, fantastic naval architect, French boat builder, guy with a really good eye, designed the boat. They've been successful all around the world. It's a little bit different in Europe how you race to a rating band, but then the similarities are that the rating band's got to win overall, and these JPK boats are going amazingly. And Sunrise has been a real standout. Now, they're a group of, I don't know them personally, but to look from the outside, they're a well-drilled team. And, I think that they've got a great chemistry and friendship on board, and it's shining through in their results. Yeah, look, this is one of the trends in sailing right now, and if we talk about offshore sailing, class sailing is a little bit different because you can get the world champion and tap into their brain and get there pretty quickly. In offshore sailing, and Sunrise in particular, Caro's another boat that are onto it, Moneypenny's a boat that's onto it. There's a real trend in short-handed sailing, which is 2 people on a boat, and that's fantastic, and that's got its own sort of energy going at the moment. But the fully crewed teams are starting to get smaller in numbers, and there's a few key things here. It's way easier to organise. I think the Sunrise boat are like 6 people on what is essentially a 40-footer. You have to have a ballast package and some riding moment supplements to that. Like in Cara, there's a bit of water ballast, and same with Moneypenny. And largely, the 100-footer, when we first sailed this boat with Neville, we went to Hobart with 24 people, and now we go with 18, and on a light day we'll go with 15. The sailing systems and the way that you manage your team and you set your team up now are driven to what is offshore crew numbers, which are short numbers. Practice is a very key part to anything, but because it's such a long, drawn-out process to get your sailing team together and to get your team to be good, again, Sydney to Hobart, I bet you after you finish you go, gee, I wouldn't mind doing that again. You probably would need a couple of beers because you've learned a lot of lessons in that first journey. So what I see people doing a lot and making a huge mistake with is they have this financial commitment to this asset and they go, right, we're going to go every weekend. The way people's lives are these days, that just doesn't work. The teams that are successful, they do little blocks. They block out like once every 6 weeks or once every 5 weeks. They'll do an ocean race with a bit of a build-up before it, check their systems, check all their protocols, safety at sea, go through the man overboard drills, and then you can build it up in blocks to the year. So you'll achieve a lot more doing it that way rather than ending up at the end with everyone's partners not liking them because they've spent too much time on this project, and then what happens is your expectations get lifted because you've got to achieve it this year. You can't come back next year because it's too much of a time burden. So breaking back into blocks and really having a good vision on how long it takes to do it. Like the best teams in this sport start the Sydney to Hobart in January. We've drilled into weight so hard in an offshore campaign, and we're not alone. I'm not saying we're the best or we're inventing the world. A lot of top teams have done this. Our estimation of the weight per person is 126 kilos. That's with the base weight in ISAF is 85 kilos is the base weight of a human. So there's almost 40 kilos of auxiliary weight. And again, there'll be critics that get me for not getting that math right. It's pretty simple. But 126 kilos is what you've got to think about. Not, they're only 60 kilos, they're only 70 kilos. No, they're going to be 126 is the average of someone. Yeah, it's wet weather gear, it's your bum bag, it's your life jacket, then it's the provisioning that you need to take for the person. Watch system is it can be very complicated, and it's something worth really investing in. We basically, let's say there's 18 people on board, we'll go with 16 because we always have if there's 18, we always have the navigators floating, and that is they're on their own independent watch with the tactician. So the decision-making part of racing the boat is independent to the watch system. And then we have 4 watches, but we essentially end up with the crew split in half. And when you make up your 4 watches, you put a helmsman on each watch, you put a pitman on each watch, you put a trimmer on each watch, and you put a bowman on each watch, which sounds so simple. But what we're trying to do in an offshore race like that is it's an endurance sport. And Bathurst is something that we all watch and we're interested in, and you see the and I'm probably getting a little bit off track, but you see the driver change, and your favourite team's in front, and they change driver, and the reputation of the second string driver is not as good as the front driver, and in some teams they've got the same, and the teams that got really good reputations for their second drivers, you go, oh no worries, this guy's awesome, will be great. But in the sport of sailing, you're trying to run an extreme thing that goes 24 hours, 48 hours. You want to have good helmsmen. You want to swap to good helmsmen because that's like your car driver swapping, and they're going to be on the pace. Similarly, you've got to have trimmers, you've got to have bowmen, and you've got to have pitmen that can do a manoeuvre and change a sail. So the thought of the watch system, and it's something we should drill into further because there's some really good diagrams and stuff of how to do it. Don't just get your best people to do the start, and then when it gets to 10 o'clock, say good night, because the biggest gains get made from sort of 10 till the sun comes up.
In these first two videos on the essentials of a campaign, we've dipped our toes into a wide range of topics. From here, we're planning several follow-up videos with Mark Bradford and others to delve a little deeper into some of the subjects. More detail on issues such as safety at sea, watchkeeping and boat preparation are likely starting themes. But if you'd like to hear more on other subjects, please let us know at Balcaddy Media through the links on this post. We look forward to hearing from you.